EJ Tackett is winning Player of the Year again, and it's not going to be close, with a major and another title in just the first month of the season. But the crazy thing is, he had a pretty rough start. At the first tournament of the year, he only got 14th. Then was the US Open. After 2 rounds, EJ was averaging only 198 and sitting in 78th place, nowhere near the cut. He even started round 3 with a 186, but with a crazy 240 average for the rest of the games, he barely jumped in the cut to round 4. This is when the infamous 41-foot pattern 4 was rolled out on the lanes, which seemed impossible. After 24 games of match play, many struggled, including Anthony Simonson, who fell to 5th, and Jason Belmonte, who fell out of the top 9. But EJ Tackett was exceptional. With an incredible 18-6 record, EJ jumped from essentially last place to 2nd place. So, let's see how he was able to close out this major for his first title of the year. For context, let's first look at the match before his, between Francois Lavoie and Lavoie. Francois Lavoie won the last game, and he's using an Attention Star S2, a strong hybrid asim. His first shot immediately hooks early, and goes pretty high, leaving the split. On the other hand, Lavoie is using a Hydro Black Pearl, a symmetric Pearl ball, and immediately he throws 2 great shots. It looks like he misses a bit right on the left lane, but still strikes on both lanes. Lavoie then throws a pretty nice shot on the right lane, but I think the ball goes out a bit too much again, but leaves a weak 10 pin. On the left lane, to compensate for that high shot, he moves quite a bit left. Unfortunately, it might have been an over adjustment because he gets another 10 pin, going a bit too light. Meanwhile, Chris is still executing pretty well. On the right lane, he strikes again, but on the left lane, the ball comes in a bit too light, leaving another corner pin. With questionable ball reaction, Francois is going to switch to a DNA Coil, a stronger Pearl ball. Hopefully this more aggressive, sharper ball will help carry that 10 pin more often. And it works out because these next 2 shots both look really nice. First one kicking out the 10, and second one being flush. Chris is going to start to move slowly a bit left, but his ball reaction is still perfect pretty much, with 2 more strikes. Francois needs a double to stay in the game. His ball reaction does still look good, but on the left lane he gets pretty unlucky to leave this 10 pin. Vi continues to strike on the right lane, and seems like he has that miss room right, with the ball coming all the way back for the strike. On the left lane, he's not as fortunate as he leaves this washout. He still wins this game, but there's going to be a little bit to think about for his next matchup against EJ Tackett. Chris starts off this match on the same left lane, and with transition, he's moving quite a bit left. This shot seems to be much improved compared to the last shot, giving him a strike. EJ's using a Super GT, a weaker Pro that has been working really well for him for this pattern. He's playing pretty much the same part of the lane as Chris, and throws 2 pretty good strikes. Chris's next shot doesn't actually seem too bad, but it hooks early and leaves a pretty nasty split. Maybe with that last shot in his head, he sends his next shot out right quite a bit, leading to this huge mistake. He luckily converts the spare, but he's in quite a bit of trouble, especially with 2 more strikes by EJ. EJ's starting to slowly move in to stay ahead of transition, and it's definitely working out for him. Here's where Chris makes a pretty big mistake. After a high shot on this lane, he only moves a little bit left, but that was nowhere near the adjustment he had to make, leaving him another high shot. The left lane was never an issue though, but he's still really behind. EJ moves a little bit right on his next shot on the right lane. I think that's what causes this ball to go a bit high, but he luckily trips out the 7 pin. His last shot on the left lane was a trip 4, but it did go quite high. To adjust this shot, he seems to move a bit left and throw it a bit faster. That was a perfect adjustment, and this shot's a perfect strike. After going high twice on this right lane, Chris makes sure to shoot this ball out right, but he makes a similar mistake as before and shoots it out way too right, leading to a really light shot and an open frame. He does strike on the left lane though, but it's pretty much over at this point. EJ is just trying to maintain his good ball reaction for the next match now. On the right lane, looks good, but on the left lane, he leaves a 7-10. He aims for the right pin, according to my 7-10 video, but obviously this is pretty hard to make. Vi also got a chance at the split on the same left lane, but unfortunately, he misses as well. The last few shots of EJ might be a bit worrying though. Pretty much all of them go a bit light and leave the 10 pin. Even though during this whole match, he hasn't left a single one of those. So that's something to think about when it comes to facing his final opponent, Andrew Anderson, who led this tournament pretty much all the way. Andrew Anderson is using the Hustle X-Ray, which is another weak ball, but this time with a solid cover stock. His first shot's a strike, but on the left lane, he goes quite light, leaving this spare. As for EJ, to account for his 10 pins last match, he's moving more in and throwing the ball a bit slower. This shot looks really good, but he gets unlucky to leave a 9 pin here. On the left lane, he throws another good shot, but once again, it goes light and almost leaves a 7-10, so there's still stuff to think about. Andrew remains perfect on this right lane, with another flush strike. On the left lane though, to account for that light shot, he's going to move slightly right. I didn't think that small adjustment would work, but it ended up being perfect, giving him another strike. To adjust for that 9 pin on the right lane, EJ throws pretty much the exact same shot, but throws it pretty much 1 mile per hour faster. But yet again, the ball hooks early and leaves a 4 pin this time. On the left lane, he throws a pretty similar shot because he struck last time, but interestingly, it goes high again. he trips out the split, but 2 high shots is not the best thing to think about when walking back to your seat. Meanwhile, Andrew has a different problem on his hands. He throws a shot way right, kinda similar to the one Chris Vi threw, and again misses the headpin by a ton. And similarly, he can't convert the spare. His left lane shot's actually pretty good, moving a little bit in, but then there's some deja vu with another 9 pin. If EJ makes 2 good adjustments, he can take a commanding lead in this match. On the right lane, to make up for that 4 pin, he's going to move a little bit left, but keep his target the same. That way, the ball shoots out more to the right, giving it more time to hook back, and finally, strikes without going high. On the left lane, he makes a similar adjustment, knowing it worked on the right lane, moving a bit left, but shooting out the ball a bit more right. The ball hooks slightly early here, but he still gets a flush strike. Andrew really needs a strike to get back in this game, but he's still pretty lost in his right lane after throwing 2 pretty bad shots. He thinks this shot is better, but now it goes really high. On the left lane, he also throws a seemingly good shot, but it goes high again. And just like that, the match is pretty much over. EJ's ability to stay ahead of the transition and make those precise moves left really helped him stay in the pocket. Meanwhile, Andrew Anderson was way behind on transition. But now, let's get to the more recent tournament in Missouri. This time, he left no doubt. After the first round, he's leading. After the second round, he's still in first. He led qualifying for the entire tournament with a 233 average. A crazy 7 pins above everyone else. In the best of 7 matches, he was also dominant. 4-1 to beat Sean Maldonado, and 4-2 to beat Tomas Kaikyo, keeping him in the 1 seed for the step ladder. So let's first take a look at the match before his, between Dom Barrett and Tim Foy Jr. Tim starting off the match with a stealth mode, a strong solid ball, and immediately gets a pretty good result. Dominic, the winner of the previous match, is also using the same ball, but playing the lanes a bit straighter. Unfortunately, his first shot just goes really light. On the left lane, he gets a perfect strike though. Tim's next shot on the right lane also goes really light, but he's really fortunate to trip out the 2 and get a strike. His last shot on the left lane also went pretty light, but for some reason, he still moves a bit left. I'm not sure if this is the move to make, because his ball goes even more light. To avoid another light shot, Dominic's going to slow down his ball speed quite a bit, and keep his ball more inside. Unfortunately, it was a bit of an over adjustment because it went pretty high. His left lane shot still looks perfect though. Tim makes a pretty similar adjustment on the right lane. He moves a little bit left, keeps his ball a bit more inside, but he actually increases his ball speed rather than stay slower. This works out perfectly and he strikes. On the left lane, he makes a similar move, keeps the ball in, leading to the ball going flush in the pocket. Now, there's a lot of ground for Barrett to make up. Because his last shot was pretty high, Dom's can move quite a bit left here, and keep his ball speed a bit higher. This leads to a better shot, but it's still a bit high, leaving a 4 pin. The left lane has no problem though, still slowly moving in left, and throwing a perfect strike. Tim's next shot is actually pretty good. He slows it down a little bit, and moves in a little bit. But he shoots the ball a bit too much to the outside I believe, resulting in it not hooking and leaving this pin. The left lane however seems to be a lot easier, and he strikes again on it. Dom makes a textbook adjustment from his 4 pin last shot, throwing a very similar shot but moving a bit left. With that adjustment, he's able to kick out the 10 and strike. And of course, the left lane is no issue, so that key strike on the right lane puts him down only 7. But unfortunately, Tim's adjustment would be much harder on the right lane, with him going pretty light on his last shot. He tries to move a bit to the right and keep his ball a bit more inside to help it stay closer to the pocket. But unfortunately, the ball still refuses to hook. He's able to maintain strikes on the left lane, but now Dom has a chance to take the lead. On his last shot on the right lane, it was a tiny bit light, so Dom might have moved half a board right here. And now, the ball is flush in the pocket, and he strikes again on this difficult lane. This left lane was never an issue, and he's able to finish off the match with 3 strikes, even though the last one was Brooklyn. But either way, Dom seems to have a really good look going into the match with EJ Tackett, and running this entire step ladder. With his last shot going Brooklyn on the left lane, Dom actually makes a pretty big change here, by playing a bit more right, and just throwing the ball faster. Interesting idea, but the first ball does go light. EJ is using a Venom Shock, a weaker solid ball, and he's playing pretty deep on the lanes, with slower ball speed and high axis rotation. His first shot on the right lane looks decent, but leaves a 10 pin, and on the left lane, it goes quite light, but gets a mixer. On the right lane, Dom is staying with the same strategy of going a bit slower, and gets a pretty good result. On the left lane, I think he does a similar thing, going back to his slower ball speed, and this shot's a pretty good strike as well. EJ's last shot on the right lane was a 10 pin, so he tries to fix it by moving a bit to the right, and throwing the ball faster. But unfortunately, it seems to be an over adjustment, and he goes pretty high. With his last shot on the left lane going light, he also moves right on the left lane. And thankfully, this works out as he gets a flush strike. Dom's ball reaction continues to be amazing. Strike on the right lane, and on the left lane, it's a pretty unlucky 10 pin. EJ needs to hit the pocket on this right lane to stay in the match. To avoid going high, he moves quite a bit left, and goes back to his slower speed. The ball goes a bit light, but he's still able to strike here. The left lane, however, seems to be no problem for him. Dom throws another pretty good looking shot, but similar to his shot on the left lane, the ball doesn't pick up early enough, and now leaves with 7-10, which is a horrible break. And then on the left lane, the opposite happens. He does move left, but the ball is way too inside for way too long, causing it to hook early and go quite high. EJ has a great opportunity to capitalize now. His last right lane shot was a bit light, so he's going to move a little bit to the right to get a bit closer to the pocket, and it works out beautifully. And the left lane is still not a problem. Maybe the ball is a bit too fast, but he still strikes here. Dom has to strike out to prove he's still in it. On the right lane, he slows down his ball speed a little bit to fix the shot that left him a 7-10. Luckily, it works out. On the left lane, he makes sure to send out his ball more outside so it doesn't hook so early. This works, and this time, he kicks out the 7-10. EJ just has to stay clean to win this match. On the right lane, he executes a pretty good shot, but leaves a 10-pin. On the left lane, he moves a bit to the right to compensate for that light shot, leading to a better shot, but once again a 10-pin. But he only needs 9 on his last shot to win, so there's no need to make a big adjustment, and he throws a pretty similar shot on his fill ball. It's enough, and with this shot, he wins his second title of the year. While Dom was a bit unlucky, EJ made excellent moves this game to help him win the match.